and welcome to A Balanced Life. I'm Patricia, and I'm so happy to be here with you, creating this community around self care. Now, self care is important for us, whatever our age. However, now that we're in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, it's maybe time to be thinking about a different approach for self care. We have different needs. As we age, our mental, physical, and emotional health changes. And it's important that we have tools in our toolkit that we can draw upon as we need them. Now, the beautiful thing about self care is that, first of all, well, there are a lot of beautiful things about self care, but one of the most important things is that it's very individual. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to create this channel. I'm looking for conversation and community around the kinds of practices that we can bring into our lives. And I'd love to hear from you. I have some practices that I have found to be effective and that are research and evidence based that I'm going to share with you. And I'd love to hear what you're doing in return. Sometimes the practices that we share with each other, they may inspire us to try it or maybe think of another practice that maybe we could use to our own benefit. But wherever you are in your self care journey, I'm so happy that you're here with me today. Now, in the previous videos, we've been talking a lot about different practices and we've talked about the importance of self care, the kinds of challenges that maybe we're facing in this age. And I think it's important to remember that, as we age, as we've said, there are challenges that come up, but this is more than just surviving. I want to thrive in these next years. I don't want to feel that I'm just, holding on with, by a mere thread or white knuckling it. Things are going to happen. Things just happen to us as we age. But am I prepared to meet those challenges or changes? And when I don't have those things happening to me, am I able to live each day with some happiness, some gratitude, good connections, and good alone time and not feel isolated maybe? Maybe know that there are resources out there for me, and most importantly, that we have this community together. Today, though, we're going to be talking about the power of creativity. Now, maybe you're a painter and a writer and you already know these things, but there's many of us who, for whatever reason, just haven't had an opportunity to bring creativity into our lives. And what we know, what the research has shown, is that creativity has multitude of benefits for us, emotionally and mentally. Now, when we think about creativity, we're not only talking about the fine arts. We're talking about gardening. We're talking about reading, crocheting, knitting, woodworking, any kind of focused practice that encourages you to think and have some maybe emotion around what you're doing, and then to be very focused on what you're creating. Maybe you're a musician. I have a friend who in her 60s has gone back to taking clarinet lessons. She has not played the clarinet since high school. Life got in the way, and when she had some time now, she thought, what do I want to do with this extra time that makes me feel good, gives me something to think about, is creative, and uses my mental energy and also gives me an emotional outlet. And she's playing the clarinet. And I love that. Many of us have a journaling practice. Just the art and the act of writing feels good. My father, well into his 80s, was a poet. He used to, when we were younger, he'd leave poems for my mother, on the bedside table or around the house. And that was really lovely. As he aged and he had more time, and he was really into reflection and self-reflection and thought a lot about their life together, and so he would write her poetry, and that kept him very engaged. And of course, my mother loved it too. So there are lots of different ways we can think about creativity. If you're a gardener, maybe gardening is something that you love to do, and that really takes a lot of physical energy as well. So it has a mental component to it. You're thinking about how you're going to approach that garden, whether it's a flower bed or a huge vegetable garden, what you're going to plant, how you're going to plant them, the kind of care that they need. There are lots of ways that we can bring some mental exercise into gardening. And then it just feels really good. I mean, I always used to say the dirt can really handle my frustrations. If I was pulling weeds or digging out a spot for a new plant to go in, I could take my frustrations out on that soil and it would take it. If you're an industrious person and you don't like to waste time, you want to feel that you've accomplished something, well, gardening definitely does that. At the end of your efforts, after months of the planting and the watering and the tilling of the soil and the weeding of the weeds, you end up with either a beautiful bloom or food that you can eat. So gardening is a beautiful practice. Some of us who, though, don't have big backyards or don't have gardens, or maybe our soil's not good where we're living, even having plants. So you can see I have plants for me. I love my plants, and I don't have many of them, but the ones I do have are well taken care of. I find there's a mindfulness moment when I'm just watering my houseplants. Now, how is that creative? Well, maybe not fully creative, but it does take those parts of me that are about nurturing, about giving back, and I'm thinking about, where they're best positioned. Do they need a little extra fertilizer? All of these kinds of thinking, these ways of thinking, get me out of my own head. So that's gardening and plant life. Um, but what about other kinds of creativity? Many of us, as we age, we're sewing now, we're crocheting, we're knitting. The beautiful thing that happens when we have a focused practice, so we're knitting, sewing, crocheting, woodworking, certainly for gardening, absolutely for reading, journaling, maybe you're an artist. There are things that are out now like the adult paint by numbers. Those are beautiful kits. They're pretty well priced. You can get them at craft stores, even on Amazon. Maybe in the show notes I'll link a couple of my favorite watercolors, and it's paint by number. And again, you're focused. What happens is when you're in these kinds of focused practices is that it's hard to think of other things. So you bring a real mindfulness. Everything stops, you're focused, and you're creating something. Yes, even a paint by number is creative. You're thinking about the painting, you're paying attention to where those colors are going. If you're journaling, you're just doing a free flow of journaling and writing. That's just getting out whatever's in your heart and in your head onto a piece of paper. It's helping you figure out things. Maybe it's just a short story. Maybe it's a list of things. Whatever it is, you're focused, you're in that mindfulness moment, and everything quiets down. When everything aligns in our creative practice and all's going well, we can enter into what's called a state of flow. And that state of flow happens when time goes. Suddenly, you've been maybe singing in a choir and your practice is done. 2 hours have gone like that. That's because you've entered in this wonderful state of flow. You're really into the music, into the creating music together, watching what the notes on the page, making sure you're singing or playing your instrument well. That's a state of flow. I can do that when I'm working on. I love to make jewelry, so I have a hobby of making jewelry. And I can be working and creating things, and suddenly 2 hours go by, and I've created something that maybe I want to wear, maybe I don't. That part doesn't matter to me. I've loved being in the moment of creating, in that time, and letting time go. But why is creativity so impactful? Gets us out of ourselves. We use our imaginations. We have a mental and emotional response to it. Sometimes there's a physical response as well. But one of the key factors about bringing creativity into our lives is that we learn to enjoy our alone time. Now, being alone and enjoying alone time is different than loneliness. When we're lonely, that's when anxiety and depression can really flourish. But when we enjoy our alone time, whether we're feeling industrious or we just want to sit on the couch and read a book, whether we just want to tend to our plants and spend some time crocheting, that is really enjoying being on your own. And there's such an empowerment around that. There's an autonomy we have with that. It's a real freedom to know that you can enjoy your time alone. And if you've scheduled it once or twice a week, then you start to look forward to that. Maybe every day you like to read. You're looking forward to that and you cherish that time. You know, filling our days when we're older is really important, and finding the things that we enjoy doing and love to do is important as well. The library is a fabulous resource. Online, of course, there are many, many resources to finding community and ideas around your hobbies. And community centers as well. Community centers have lots of things going on for those of us who are over 50 that are really geared to the kinds of things that we might be interested in. Whether you're an active person or you choose to be a little bit more solitary and less active in your alone time, there's something that you can find, I know there is, that will spark a joy and an excitement about being alone. But creativity, as I said, is that, special pixie dust. If you find something that is a creative outlet for you, then you find an extension of expressing yourself emotionally, and it does help drive your sense of purpose every day. So, I hope you'll share maybe ways that you've brought creativity into your life and what you're doing with your creative endeavors. Please inspire us with your stories and like and subscribe if you like this channel and all that we're doing. And I'm hoping that together we're creating a community where we can thrive, not just survive, as we age. So, thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to hearing your comments. And don't forget to do something kind for yourself today.